Welcome to the 2022 Baseballtown Charities Phillies Winter Tour, presented by Liebensberger Funeral Homes.
Since its inception in 2002, Baseballtown at Charities has been investing in the future of baseball, raising several $1 million to build facilities and fund programs in and around Reading. It started with the construction of Gordon Hudak Stadium at Lowers Park, a baseball palace for inner-city boys and girls of the Baseballtown Junior RBI League. It continued with the renovation of Reading's historic Bear Park, and then expanded beyond the city limits to build the Savage 61 Dream Field, a ballpark specially designed for those with physical and cognitive challenges. In addition to financially supporting the leagues that utilize these facilities, Baseballtown at Charities recently started the Rip It for Life program, which provides free lessons, batting cage time, and invaluable guidance about life to players who lack the financial ability to pursue playing at a higher level. We invite you to celebrate our national pastime while preserving its future by supporting Baseballtown at Charities. Please visit baseballtown.org to donate today.
Hey, Fightin Phils fans, Emily Messina here with you guys for the Baseballtown Charities Phillies Winter Tour. And today I have special guest, Larry Bowa. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing fine, Emily. It's nice to see you again. And I got to see you quite a bit this past summer, and hopefully we do this again this coming summer. It's always good to go to Reading. It's great place to watch baseball. And to me, Double-A is sort of like the stepping stone of these young kids getting to where they want to go, and that's eventually in the big leagues.
It's definitely a place where a lot of guys use it to jumpstart their career. Ryan Howard, most notably a big Reading MVP season, and that really is what transformed him into the Phillies first baseman. What makes Reading such a special place to play, you think?
You know what? Besides the environment and the enthusiasm that the people bring out every night, to me, the Double-A classification separates the men from the boys, so to speak. When you're an A-ball, you get a lot of fastballs and 2-0, 3-1 counts. As you progress and get to Double-A and eventually Triple-A, you start seeing pitchers being able to get breaking balls over when they're behind in the count, throwing more off-speed pitches. And it's going to be the ability of the young guys making these adjustments as they progress through the system. But I think you get a pretty good idea of how the maturation of a young player. I mean, I watched Stott at the beginning, and then I went towards the end, and then eventually went to AAA, and this guy made drastic, unbelievable improvement in every aspect of the game. So I think it's a good gauge, Double-A, when a kid is successful there. There's a good chance he's going to be successful moving forward. Injuries come into play a lot, but it's good to watch the maturation process from Double-A to the big leagues.
Yeah, the competition really steps it up a notch in Double-A, I feel like, and that makes a huge difference for players. And you played in Reading here. You were here back in 1967 and 68. Right. Was it the same type of atmosphere then as it is now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the attendance wasn't quite as good, but we had good teams there. That was known then as a real good pitching league. Pitchers excel there because obviously, April and May and maybe even the first week of June, you get some cold weather there. Mm-hmm. I think the one year that I played there in particular in 66, it might have been 67 or 68. Thurman Munson, I think, led the league in hitting, and he hit like 265, which tells you about the pitching in that league. Yeah. So, but it's always been a very competitive league, Double-A. But it's just the city there, the people there. I don't know. It's a good environment to be in. And I think hats off to the Phillies and Reading for keeping that throughout the years. I mean, we're talking in the 60s now, and they're still going full bore right now. So hopefully they can continue to play there. And I understand there's going to be some improvements being made there coming up. But I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out also.
Me as well. Yeah, the Reading Phillies have the longest partnership in all of minor league baseball with the Philadelphia Phillies back since 1967. So it's been a long run. So you played here in Reading and eventually made it to the Philadelphia Phillies. And notably, I would say you had the first hit at the Vet. Do you remember that moment?
I do. I do remember it. It was off Bill Stoneman, who pitched for Montreal. And, in spring training that year, uh, we had like a running joke because we knew the vet was going to open. And Denny Doyle, who was also the second baseman when I played short, and we were going to hit 1-2 in the lineup. And we would say stuff like, and I would say, Denny, I'm going to get the first hit. And he goes, well, you better get your first at bat because I'm going to get one too. So, but it was, we knew we were opening up a new stadium, and it was great to open up the vet. And, that's something that you have forever. I mean, you get the first hit that was when the vet first went up, and I had a lot of first, really. I got to close Connie Mack. That was the last game there. I opened the vet. I closed the vet. I managed the first year at the new stadium at Citizens Bank Park. So I've had a lot of first being in a Philly uniform, and obviously the Phillies been a great organization and treated me very well, and to have a career as long as I have had, whether it's on the field, in the front office, I'm very proud of the fact that they stuck by me, and I'd like to see us start getting involved more and more playoffs. Seems like we've come up short here the last couple of years, but I still, I'm optimistic. I think that when you have guys like Wheeler and JT and Harp, you got three big time players, and I think it's time now for us to get involved in the playoffs coming up.
Yeah, definitely exciting. What's to come for the Phillies? I think it's going to be really good. And you personally have had a chance in one of only two of the Phillies World Series championships back in 1980. Can you tell me about like what the parade was like? What was the atmosphere in Philadelphia? That moment that the final pitch was thrown?
Emily, that moment, obviously when the last pitch was thrown was something like it's frozen in time. Doug McGraw striking out Willie Wilson. But that whole summer, it was unbelievable. The vet was packed every single night. We had come up short in the previous years. We kept playing the Dodgers and the Cincinnati, the Big Red Machine, and whether it was a pitch, a call, a fluke play, we never could get over the hump. And then finally in 80, to put everything together, and the first ever in Philly history, again, that's something that, World Series are going to be won a lot of times from different teams, but to be the first ever to win one in Philly history, that's something obviously that's etched in your mind forever. But the parade down Broad Street, I mean, you saw tears of joy running down people's faces, people saying, oh, finally, I wish my mom and dad were here to see this. I mean, it was unbelievable, the energy that the fans brought that entire summer, and then have the parade. Again, those are memories that stick with you forever.
That's so cool. And I actually was able to talk to Michael Schmidt the other day, and he still has his championship ring. Do you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone plays for a ring and everything, and there's no question about that. But to say that you were the best team in 1980 over all teams, American National League, that's something special. And you know what, Emily, there's always a bond there. You do card shows and you have alumni weekends and you have all that stuff where you reunite with your players, but there's that one bond that when you win a World Series together, it sort of brings everybody closer. I've made a lot of friends in baseball, but that World Series team is something special. And when you get a chance to meet up with them during the summer, whether it's, like I said, it's a reunion or alumni, whatever it is, it's something special, believe me.
Yeah, I love those alumni weekends. Who would you say now is your closest friend from that championship team?
I would have to say, Greg Lazinski and I still remain real good friends. Schmitty, Gary Maddox. I mean, it's a group that, I mean, we don't go out every single weekend or anything like that, but when we see each other, we know it's a special time. And to be able to still go out with these guys or hook up with them at a card show, or like Bull and Schmitty both work with the Phillies. So I get to see them a lot. Schmitty on the weekends does the games on TV, and Bull has his restaurant there. So I get to see those guys a lot, which is something special.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about the organization when all of the alumni still come back and work with the team or come back for those big alumni weekends. And you've had, a big career with them post playing, with being a manager and being an analyst. What kind of differences are there in those different perspectives? Because I see the game differently as a broadcaster than as a regular fan would. And I'm sure now that you've had those 3 separate instances, what are the differences?
Well, I had to be a little bit careful, especially when I work with MLB, because regardless, you want to try to be fair. Where like if the Phillies are playing somebody, your allegiance is always with the Phillies. Mine was anyway. And so I'll always be a little bit prejudiced towards them. And a couple times they had to tell me, "Hey, Larry, you're not playing anymore. You got to be a little bit, even this out a little bit." And it's hard for me really to do that because, like I said, my whole career has been with the Phillies. I mean, with the exception of 4 years with the Cubs. You have that, I don't know, that special place in your heart for the Phillies. And I get very disappointed when we don't win. I'm very disappointed when we don't get to the playoffs. But again, I don't want to I want to say I'm a fan, but I think I'm a little bit more than a fan. I think there's more to it than just saying, oh, well, the Phillies lost. Sometimes I take it very personal. And I know I shouldn't because those guys out there are trying and doing everything. But like I said, I'll always root for the Phils, and hopefully we can get back into the playoffs the way I think that I shouldn't say we're capable of. If we can stay away from injuries and everyone play the way they're supposed to, I really believe there's a good chance of us doing something special this coming season.
Yeah, there's so much talent on the team, and I get so invested too in it as well. And I'm lucky to be able to see the players when they're first getting their start here in AA, which is fun to watch them grow, especially a guy like Matt Vierling this year that started in Reading, had an incredible major league debut, and some games in the majors was really special for me to see.
Yeah, it's fun to go down there. I even take it a step further. I go down to Clearwater also because when they're on the road, my job basically is I watch all the home games in Philly, and then when they go on the road, I'll either go to Clearwater, Reading, Lakewood, Lehigh Valley. But when you go down to low A and you watch these kids, and maybe you watch them in April, and then you go back in June or July, you go, wow, this kid's really come on. It's hard to make a decision on a guy when you see him one time in a five game series. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I saw Stott in A ball, the high Lakewood team, in April. And somebody asked me, do you think he'd be in the big leagues as a shortstop? And I said, no way. I just didn't. The way he played those 5 games, and again, we're talking about 5 games in April. The weather's cold. The more I watched him play, the more he progressed through the system. And then Dave Dombrowski asked me again this past summer after I seen him play AA and he was going to AAA. He said, what do you think? I said, this kid's really, really improved. I think he can be a big league shortstop. And again, sometimes you put your thumbprint on a guy early and it's too early because, hey, you just break camp. You're in 80-degree weather. You come up here and you're playing in 35, 40-degree weather. It's freezing out. So you got to be a little bit patient when you watch, especially when you go down and watch the kids in A-ball. But it's fun to watch their progression as you keep going back to watch them play.
Yeah, there's so much growth and development, and it's such a long season. And you come out here to Reading, a good amount to come and watch the players. You're actually sitting next to me usually in the booth. So I think I already know the answer to this question, but what is your favorite snack while you're watching the baseball game?
Oh, well, you know what? I love popcorn for sure. I love a hot dog at the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a typical fan when you go to the ballpark. I mean, and I think what's good about the minor leagues, it's affordable for everybody. Let's face it, when you come to the big leagues, the parking and the tickets, and by the time you get done, if you have a family of 4 or 5, it's costing you some big time money. Mm-hmm. And you go to Reading or you go to Clearwater or Lakewood or Lehigh Valley, you can take your whole family. The parking's not that expensive, and you get to see a good product. I like minor league baseball. I think those are the stepping stones the kids get into the big leagues. But I get just as much satisfaction out of going to Reading, to Lehigh Valley, to all the minor league as I do watching the Phillies play every night. So, hopefully this will continue and our system will get much improved. I think last year we started to come a little bit at the end, but I went down the instructional league, Emily, and I seen some pretty good players. Now, do we have superstars down there? Not yet, but I think we have some good athletes down there, and I'm anxious to see how they progress through the system this coming season.
Well, a lot of them down there are so young, and with the gap year in baseball the previous summer, the ages have been a little bit different. You made your major league debut at 24 years old. Did you feel ready at that young age?
Well, you know what, Emily, I could have made it at 23, and this is a true story. People don't believe me. Bob Skinner was a manager, and he called me in and he said, "You made our team as a utility player. Now, if you want to play every day, you can go down and learn how to switch hit at AAA, or you can make our team as a utility player." And in baseball, you get labeled right away. And I figured, if I'm going to be labeled a utility player, that's not what I want to do. I want to play every day. And I told him, I said, I'd rather go to AAA, learn how to switch hit. And that's what I did. But I progressed through the system. I played A 1 year, AA, and then AAA. I went boom, boom, boom. Each year I progressed through the system. And I think it was great for me looking back that I did elect to go and learn how to switch it as opposed to sitting on the bench and being a utility player. I was too young to do that. And I think that's a tough call for guys now. You have guys that come up and sit on the bench, and they're young guys. When you put your team together, it's good to have veterans as those extra guys. They know how to prepare, and it's really not fair for young guys to do that job. And, obviously you get thrown into it a little bit sometimes because of injuries, and you got to be the extra guy. But there's nothing beats anything experience more than playing every day. And to have that 1 year wiped out, that hurt a lot of our young kids. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I can't imagine the decision that was to, say, I'm not going to go to the majors. I'm going to go back and take more reps. And I know a lot of players that are here are electing to play a bunch of different positions. That's been a big thing throughout this year, is the utility player, the versatile player. So how do you see that as a part of baseball now?
It's, obviously it's evolved. Baseball's evolved into a different game right now. I really believe if you have a real good shortstop, a real good center fielder, a real good second baseman, a real good catcher, leave them there if they're going to excel at that position. But the way the game's evolved and the way the front offices have put together teams, they want that versatility where a guy can play second, put him in left, put him in right, put him in center. I think it's very difficult. And I take my hat off to these guys that can do that, because it's hard enough playing in the big leagues. And now you got to learn how to play 4 or 5 different positions. So I take my hat off to those guys. But if that's the quickest way to get to the big leagues, that's the way they got to do it. Like I said, the game has evolved. Back when we played, I know it's been a while, we didn't have that type of structure. Basically, we had a set lineup, and we had few older guys being your extra guys. But now it seems like every team has 4 or 5 guys that can play 4 or 5 positions, what makes it a little bit easier on the manager if he wants to give a guy, a second baseman, a rest one night. You put a guy like Scott Kingery there. If you want to put the left fielder, you put him in left field. So there's different avenues to look at it. Personally, I would rather just play one position, but the game has changed so much that, like I said, I take my hat off to these young kids that can do that.
Yeah, it's super impressive. Some of the guys over the season would tell me that they would pack like 3 or 4 different gloves because they had no idea what position they were going to be at on the field.
And you know what, Emily, if you're, especially in the infield, if you're playing on the left side of the infield, the ball comes off the bat different. Then you move over to the right side, the ball comes off the bat different. So there's different angles. There's different ways to position yourself. And of course, all the analytic stuff with the cards and where to play. It makes it difficult for these young kids to do that. But like I said, I take my hat off to them. They've made adjustments, and they don't skip a beat when they play different positions, which is good. That means they're good athletes.
Yeah, very smart and athletic, and definitely super knowledgeable about how to, adapt when needed. So final question, and I know this is something that I got to be a part of this summer. You have your own TV show. You and Charlie have become actors. Did you ever think that you'd be on television?
You know what? That sort of started off as a little whim. Charlie said, well, maybe we ought to get our show. And I said, I didn't even think of stuff like that, And so they came up with this down the line. And we had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, you were on it and you did a great job. So I just believe that it moving forward, I think there's something into it. I mean, I don't think Charlie and I are great actors, but if we get the right guests like yourself and that, I think it makes it very interesting for people to watch.
I think it's awesome. Give some lighthearted humor to, aspects, and visit the greater Philadelphia area and showcase, all this area has to offer. So
Well, we're going to ask you to go on our show again next year if we do it. So.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much for your time, Larry. And I appreciate all of our fans and listeners here at the Baseballtown Charities Phillies Winter Tour.
After losing a loved one, families often wonder what next. You'll find the answer at Leibensberger Funeral Homes.
Everyone who walks through our doors is treated with respect and compassion.
We take the time to learn about your loved one and celebrate their life with a service that reflects who they really were.
Offering 2 locations, ample parking, and a spacious chapel and vestibule. Let our family help your family find peace at Leibensberger Funeral Homes.
Thank you for watching the 2022 Baseballtown at Charities Phillies Winter Tour, presented by Leibensberger Funeral Homes. Special thanks also to M&T Bank for their continued support of Baseballtown at Charities.